Look at that chocolate bundt cake. Oh, I tell you what, this is a yummy, tasty dish. Try this video. You're going to be blown away. Hello. Welcome back to Texas Cooking Today. On this episode, we will be preparing for you a chocolate pound cake. This is a wonderful recipe. It goes way back in my family, and I'm happy to pass it on to you as it was passed on to me. So, I tell you what, let's come in a little closer and we'll go over the ingredients real quick. Now let's go over our ingredients list. For our chocolate pound cake, we will be using 3 sticks of butter, 3 cups of flour, 3 cups of sugar, 1 1/4 cup of milk, 4 large eggs, 4 tablespoons of cocoa, 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract, 1/2 of a teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Now the first thing I want to do, I have removed our liquid ingredients to get them out of our way, but I want to take the butter, which has already been softening a little bit, cut it into pats, and put it into my mixing bowl. I want to do this so that it will warm up just a little bit quicker. You don't have to be real neat about this, okay? Okay, I've got 3 sticks of butter in my mixing bowl, and I'm going to go ahead and put it on my mixer. Our dry ingredients now need to be combined. So what you're going to need for that is a simple large bowl with a sifter inside of it. Now, as I mentioned before, if you don't have a sifter, you can use a strainer. That'll work fine, because basically it's the same thing. It's just a wire mesh, and inside of a sifter it has a beater that allows things to move, okay? And some of them have different actions, they work different ways, but they all accomplish the same goal. Now, what I want to do, get a cup here, is I want to put my dry ingredients, not including the sugar, into this. Move the sugar out of our way. I'll start with a couple cups of that flour. I'll put in my cocoa, most of. Put in my baking powder, the salt. Okay. Add some more. That flour over the top. And this just helps to disperse the ingredients better. That's all we're doing here. Just try to get kind of a pre-mix on our dry ingredients. And the last of the flour. Sift that. My sifter is ancient, okay? It is old. There we have it. There we have our dry mix. To remove the eggs from their shells and beat them light, okay? So we'll go ahead and do that now. Nobody ever said that I was neat in the kitchen. Now, breaking the yolks. The mixture gets at the end of your whip, and it beats it. Go. That's all we have to do to that. Before we get started with mixing our ingredients, let's go ahead and grease and flour our bundt pan. Now, I am going to use some gloves. You do not have to do this with gloves, but I find this makes this a whole lot easier when it comes to cleanup. I won't have to wash my hands. Now, there's 2 ways that you can commonly grease and flour a pan. One is to do what I'm doing here, just simply take a butter stick and rub it up over in that pan. And that's not all we're going to do, we're going to move it around in a moment. The other way is to use lard or shortening. So feel free to use any of those. After this, the next thing I want to do is simply rub that around. So, let's get the center part. Each of those narrow areas you want to work the butter deep into real well. You don't want it to stick. Any spots that aren't well coated will be easily visible after you flour it because the flour simply won't stick in that spot. Now, I believe we have a good coating there. This is what I mean by easy cleanup. That's all I have to do to get myself cleaned up. Let's move on to flouring this. I want to put a little flour in this, but I want to sprinkle some up around the center part because it is very hard to get to. The remainder of the flour, simply take it and tap it in a circle all the way around it so you coat the entire pan. Alright, now any remaining flour, I'll simply tap out in my sink and I'm finished with this. See there? I have a simple, lovely coating inside of my bundt pan. And this, even on a non-stick pan, you really need to do this because non-stick pans sometimes stick. Okay, so that's the reality of it. Now, our butter is starting to get a little warmer, so I'm going to set the mixer. There we go. There we are. Just let that soften it for a moment. One thing that's helpful when you're working with a mixer is having a rubber or silicone spatula handy so that you can knock things loose here and there, or to clean the edge of the bowl. Now slow that down to incorporate our sugar. Gently pour this in. Okay, looks like we are there. We've creamed our butter and sugar together. Now once again I'm just pulling it down off the sides, so when I start my next portion, it's where I need it. Now what I want to do next is to put my other ingredients in, and I'm going to alternate them. I'm going to use a little bit of flour and a little bit of milk. And we're just going to rotate one ingredient after another. Careful with that flour. I'm going to go ahead and get my vanilla in right now, all of it. Take notice of the fluff and the structure at the top. How it looks light and fluffy. And that is because it is. You see the swirls in the solution now? That is a perfect pound cake mix right there. Now let's go on and get it into our bundt pan. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. You can spoon it into the bundt pan or you can pour it. In this case we are going to actually do the pouring on it. Okay, it is ready to go in our oven at 325 degrees, and we're going to be baking that guy for approximately 1 hour. Now, 1 hour 10 minutes for low altitude, about an hour 25 minutes for higher altitudes, you know, around 3,000, 4,000 feet, and then higher altitudes above that. Of course, you guys already know how to compensate for your recipes. So, there we go, chocolate pound cake in the oven. Now we have our cake all ready to go in our oven, 325 degrees. There we go. Now we just give it time. Go ahead and set your timer. Well, we are here. My neighbor is serenading me with his guitar. It was very sweet of him. And I'm going to check this. My toothpick comes out clean. Now I checked it after 1 hour and there was still just a little bit of liquid batter on my toothpick. But this time, it's only 10 minutes after that, it's an hour and 10 minutes, and nothing on the toothpick. So that's fully cooked. I can turn my oven off. And I'm just going to let this cool on a cooling rack until it has sunken down and has come down to about room temperature or just a little warmer. And then we're going to transfer it over to another dish. Now I have just inverted this onto this plate. Now, so you'll know how that happened. All I did was take the plate that I wanted to turn it onto and I put it upside down on the bundt pan and I turned them over together. And when I did that, I could hear it drop. So I need to just remove the pan. And there we go. Now, to make a simple chocolate glaze for a cake, you need 3/4 of a cup of semi-sweet chocolate morsels, 1 tablespoon of white or clear if you prefer corn syrup, 3 tablespoons of butter that has been cubed, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now what I'm going to do is I have a pan right over here, and we're going to do what's known as a classic double boiler, and that is where you simply take a pan with some water in it, and I have about an inch of water in the bottom of this pan. And I'm going to simply place this bowl right above it. The pan itself is going to slowly come up in temperature. Now what I need to do is place in my morsels. Let me get a spatula here to make this easier. The butter. It all goes in the double boiler at the same time, except for this, and we're going to put it in right at the end. Let's get the corn syrup down in here. Remember, it's only a tablespoon. There we are. We can see the bowl just a little easier, if you'll notice. And you don't have to go out and purchase a double boiler. You sure don't. All you have to have is just a pan that you can put a bowl on top of, and boom, you've got a double boiler. The idea there is you just want to heat something gently, so you're using the steam or the heat that's coming off of the water to take care of that. And you don't really want it to boil, because if we do, then that's going to bring the temperature up too high. I only want to melt this. I want to melt the butter and the chocolate and the syrup together. No more. And the idea behind this glaze and the butter and everything we're putting in it is what we want is for our chocolate to not set up and become firm again. We want it to remain kind of soft on top of our cake. And that way it makes it sliceable and easy to work with. Now as it is becoming smooth, as I see here. I want to put that vanilla in it. The vanilla is just to make it a little more rich. There we go. I can turn my burner off. As my glaze is now made. Okay? It's warm, it's melted, it is smooth, it's satiny. Look at that. Shiny. It's exactly what I need. Okay. Now, back to our bundt. Let's pull it on up a little closer here. And I'm simply going to take this and drizzle it straight down over the bundt cake. We're going to pour it right onto it. And you don't have to be any too polite or pretty about this. There's really no right or wrong of it. There we go. And you want some of it to run down in different areas. You don't want it to be too even. And this way it has a lovely appearance, very random in its effect. Alright. Now, while the glaze is still hot, I want to go ahead, top it off with the nuts. There we have it. A beautiful glaze, nut topped. It's just that simple. Don't make it any harder than this, and that's going to make a lovely display. Well, now that wasn't very difficult at all, was it? Beautiful chocolate bundt cake. I'll tell you what, let's give this thing a try, but before I cut this, I think you should come up a little closer. Let's take a close-up look at the grain of the cake. Alright, now, let's slice into it here. Right here. Nice thick slice. The first slice is always the hard one to remove. But there we have it. Beautiful, even grain. Gorgeous. There we have it. Now I have my cake. Oh, yes. Thank you for watching Texas Cooking Today, the show where you can get great recipes and the best techniques are taught. Please subscribe to Texas Cooking Today, where you will always find something hot and ready to eat.